I am Joe McNeese, and I am the director and designer of this production of Diva Live from Hell. So we were sort of charging ahead. Obviously, we saw the news from America about Broadway theatres closing, and we thought, that's kind of telling. That probably means that something's going to happen over here.
We were forging ahead with rehearsals. We were going into tech. This wonderful set behind me had just been built. Obviously, we were aware of what was going on across the world, and we were a little bit concerned, but we weren't too concerned. We'd had a chat earlier that morning with our artistic director, who explained all of the safety measures being taken in the theatre. And then halfway through rehearsal, our MD said that Boris Johnson was giving a speech, and that's kind of the moment a lot of us knew that it was highly unlikely that this was going to go ahead.
Yesterday at 5 o'clock, the artistic director of the theatre came in and she sat us down, and she said that given the press conference that had just happened earlier on in the day, all theatres were closing. And so that was it. That was the end of our production as we were intending to present it.
Of course, this is a massive global issue. We're in very frightening and uncertain times. Ultimately, this is, it's good sound advice that yes, there is a virus being spread. Of course, we shouldn't gather in large crowds. I just think the way that it was done is pitiful, and hasn't been considerate on small businesses, small pubs, restaurants, theatrical venues, and freelancers.
As a freelance musical director, it does tend to mean that I have kind of lots of fingers in different pies, lots of jobs going on. They have all cancelled within 24 hours. Everything in the diary has completely cleared, which obviously brings a huge amount of anxiety and kind of worrying about where that next paycheck's going to come in, as well as not just work that's happening in the future, but of course work that I have done that hasn't been paid for yet, producers and other kind of creatives that can't now pay those fees because they've then lost income as well from other projects that aren't happening or haven't happened, or so it's a really worrying time.
It's a shame what's happening to us and what's happening to the theatre industry and to freelancers across the country. It's very difficult, and it's made what I consider to be a very uncertain, anxious time even more uncertain and anxious. I budgeted to be able to do this show. I also budgeted to be able to do my next show, and now I'm faced with the prospect of not being able to pay rent. And I know freelancers across the country are all feeling that same thing.
Everybody's taking a financial hit because of the crisis that unfortunately has fallen upon this industry, but in terms of this show, nobody is taking that greater than Stephen. And this was his first professional production, and he had done an absolutely stunning job in getting all of this ready for the stage, and the fact that it's left him in a financial situation that's so desperate without any sort of guarantee of any kind of return is desperately sad. There are companies out there, larger companies that operate under limited company structures and things like that, and it will be terribly sad for them as well, but they'll be able to go bankrupt, and that won't affect the directors and the operators at the end of the day because that's not attached to their name. Whereas for Stephen, who's done this all himself out of his own pocket, it's just an incredibly difficult time, and it's difficult for all of us to sort of sit here and know how much he's poured into it and how much he stands to lose. The reality of it right now is that this is a very difficult thing that young people at the start of their careers in the arts industry are having to go through, and there's no guarantee of any kind of financial recompense for what's being lost.
And I have been working as a creative team for the last couple of weeks, kind of rehearsing the show and creating the show along with Jack, and we've got to the theatre and we've teched and we've introduced the band to the show. We had 2 run-throughs of the show and packed up and back on our way now. It's just really quite a scary time where nobody really knows what's going on. We don't have kind of days where things might happen again in the future. It's really a time that we really have to come together and figure out how we can move forward by supporting everybody else.
One quite noble effort that's happening in the industry is in some smaller fringe theatres and producing houses throughout town, people are going to be given the option to have a refund for tickets when they can't attend shows, or they can donate that money, which helps offset so many of the losses that people are going to have to suffer. For example, that's what's happening here with this production. So if people had booked, they don't necessarily have to have that refund if they want to donate that money, and it would help an awful lot of people who would stand to lose so much.
I think that this is a time for people in a time of such uncertainty to connect with the things that you love in any way that you can. Like if you have a favourite performer, find out more about them. Find out if they have some sort of side hustle you can support. If you really are really gutted that you're no longer going to be able to see a production, contact that venue, tweet them, Facebook them, contact them on social media and let them know how disappointed you are that production won't go ahead, and tell them that you hope to see it again in the future. Keep flames burning, keep ideas alive of things that you wanted to see happen and that you're disappointed about. Don't stifle your disappointment just because of the current climate. Let people know that you are gutted to be missing that, and wish them well, wish them all the best. This is a time when we really need to rally around each other and look out for each other. So just make sure that your favourite people are doing okay.
Just really do implore people to support the arts in any way they can throughout this period of uncertainty. And if and when it all does blow over, which I sincerely hope it will in the not too distant future, I just hope that people go in their droves to their local theatres and their pub theatres and their fringe theatres and support art at its grassroots, so that it can grow and become stuff that we'll all be proud of again in this country. Because there's so much going on artistically. We need to celebrate that, and especially after something like this, because if it doesn't get funded and people don't go out and see it, then that will be the end of it.